Good morning, my loves. It's early. The sun is coming up here on the West Coast, and yesterday was a big video day, very long. The most important thing that I ever had to say um, was telling the truth, and I want to tell you, good morning. It is going to be rough, another rough week, um, but we're here together, and we got this. So let me let me tell you the last few things that I have to say before everybody wakes up and starts going about their day. I know everything I've said has been really hard, and this is another trigger warning. I'm so sorry that as your mother, I did not do better to prepare you for this world. I wasn't always honest because I didn't want to scare you. But we all make choices in our lives. We choose to silence ourselves in order to get what we want, sacrificing our core selves because we don't fit in the way that people think we should. And I know it's scary. It's okay. And I know that you want to be kind and nice and sweet and just keep praying. But let me tell you what happens when you keep just praying and hoping for people to listen and hear you and honor your humanity. Because they won't. They will take everything from us. Everything, including our lives, our children, our voices. They have no conscience. They claim to be the religious leaders of this world, and it's a fucking lie, man. It always has been. It's 2,000 years old. You're weak, powerless. You can do nothing. You're only human. You can't make a difference by yourself. Right? Why should I vote? It's scary. I might make a mistake. And then I would be one of those horrible people that voted for one of these terrible laws that's destroying people's lives. Oh shit, I couldn't live with myself if I made that mistake. Why? Why are we so afraid to make mistakes in this country? Why do we berate our children and ourselves so harshly? I'm going to tell a little bit of my story. And the reason I'm starting early this morning is because I have been prayed for my entire life because I am a heretic. I am a granddaughter of the witches that you couldn't burn and silence. And we say this not out of vanity, but out of rage. I am raging against this machine of colonialism. I know who's behind the curtain. I know the truth. And you can tell me any stories. You can dance like Gregory Hines and Fred Astaire, or my best friend Ginger. I love Ginger Rogers. Something I loved hearing when I was very young, when I was in my early teens, and I moved up to the Pacific Northwest to escape the oppression of my family, my abusers, the people who I was told my whole life that I should trust and love and listen to without question. My mother's favorite thing is, "You don't get to tell me no. I'm your mother." That is grooming. That is applied behavioral therapy. That's conversion therapy. That's electroshock therapy. That's solitary confinement. That's waterboarding. That's gaslighting. That's genocide. So, last night, I talked about why our heroes have to die, and I don't think that they do. And I want to talk about a hero that a lot of people in the world have just slowly woken up to recognize, because we change over time and remain the same, always. We're a contradiction. Um, we're always multiple things at one time. We're never just one thing. That's the intersectionality. You can't remove yourself from it. It's all connected. Because what happens when you remove a chain or a thread from a fabric? It begins to unravel. Divide and conquer. Highlight your flaws and point them out to you and tell you how horrible and broken and undeserving you are. This country has become we're we're close to the end here. We've had a good run. No, we haven't. We haven't. This country has never been great, and I don't know that it ever will be. Most most definitely not in my lifetime. And I'm angry about it. I have lost nearly everyone in my life, and I've tried to kill myself more than once. My whole life, I grew up with a what I like to call a tape recording in my head, or a record playing over and over. It just wouldn't stop. Hearing voices. Um, and it was most insidious. It would tell me that every day that I was unworthy and undeserving, and that because I was born, I destroyed my parents' lives. My mother is one of the strongest most badass women that I've ever seen. And she gets belittled and ignored and turned into a joke. And last week, America, I had to tell my mother that she's no longer welcome in my home for the first time ever. I'm 51. Sometimes it takes me a long time to learn a lesson. Sometimes I make the same mistake over and 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 over. But we just keep getting back up and getting knocked down again. Yeah, we're singing. Yeah, we're singing. I've heard a lot of this. People are talking about, we didn't start the fire. I want to talk to the white men again, real quick. I want to talk to Texas Paul. I want to talk to the boys, the gentleman at Midas Touch. I want to talk to the Young Turks. I want to talk to Bernie Bros. I want to talk to D&Ders. I want to talk to the Hellfire Club. We need a meeting. Got to talk. Because the upside down is it's still there. We never got rid of it. It will just keep coming back. Vecna. That's where we are right now. And and the last few years have been really fucking scary and traumatic for me. I'm what was called what we call an empath. I talked about doing intensive talk therapy for many years. Medication. I've tried many different medications. But not all worked. And sometimes I've had to take them and make sacrifices of myself to remain unimprisoned in brick walls and bars. I've had to sacrifice a lot in my life to stay alive. I was not an easy birth. My mother was in labor for 3 days, and I like to come out ass first and present to the world my finest. I'm a Cancer. I'm a boar. I'm a piggy. I'm a mama bear. That's who I am. And I've helped to take care and rear countless children, um, my own, my siblings, my cousins, at the different churches and youth groups that I would go to over the years. Um, uh, Parents would find me trustworthy and ask me to watch their children for them, and that was the best for me because I loved being around kids because I could be myself. I didn't have to try and hide behind a mask of what people expected or demanded of me. And when you go against the grain from the rest of your family or culture, it's very difficult. The people who you have been told and indoctrinated and groomed to trust and believe um, betray you and abuse you and silence you and make you put on pretty clothes and makeup and do your hair Paint on your smile. I'm smiling. Does it make me pretty? Um, I want to tell you the biggest compliment that I got from my grandmother, my maternal grandmother before she died. I helped take care of her for a brief period. One of my uncles asked me because her caregiver had a family emergency and she needed to take care of her family and couldn't be there to take care of my grandmother. And my grandmother, like I said, she was a badass. She she called herself a domestic engineer. Her husband was an engineer. He worked for Douglas, McDonnell Douglas, and and uh, and my mother's father, one of her very best friends, growing up through life was the Watts family, Watts, California, and my granny Lola, she was living uh, in Watts when the Watts riots happened, and everybody was scared, and people didn't know what was going to happen, and so my mom and some of her siblings, cousins, I'm not sure exactly, went to get my granny Lola out of Watts, and bring her to Santa Monica, to their little safe haven. And in Santa Monica, California, at this time period, uh, there was a lot of turmoil going on. The hippies were winning. We were. No more war. Love, not peace. Love and peace, not war, not death and pain. But they force us to, don't they? They force our hand. They tell us we're free, but we're really not. We have to just keep putting our masks on, pretending to play the part, holding our breath. So what can give us hope? Who's a hero that we can look up to? What is a hero? Do they have to be perfect? Are they angelic or saint-like? Have they never made a mistake? Or our heroes are the ones who are the most flawed and the ones who have made the most mistakes and hurt the most people before realizing who they truly are in this world, and who we tried to make them. And I've been put in very uncomfortable positions my entire life, defending my abusers, defending a church that and a religion that I was born into that I did not approve of. I've been forced to vilify people who were just trying to save us from ourselves. Um, there's a series that won a lot of awards recently, um, and people are discovering this show. And I think I love art and music, which is the ultimate love-hate relationship with the church for me. Because they were the ones with the money and the power. And so they chose our narrative. They chose what art they would patronize. So they could control the narrative. The Sistine Chapel. I mean, beautiful. The art, priceless. It needs to be preserved because it's part of our history, not because we need to continue to worship old gods. Old gods, in religion, it's a teaching tool to help teach us things that we don't understand or know, to try and help protect us. It's a user's manual, the Bible. And user manuals, they go through a lot of revisions because time moves forward. It marches on without us under its feet, just grinding us into dust. It will just continue marching. But with all of the talk, and there's been a character, um, and the Americas have slowly learned to fall in love with him over the past 50 some odd years. And I'm a big nerd, sci-fi, and I'm a tortoise. I'm low and slow, and I take my time, and I process, and I retreat into my shell a lot. I'm not gone. I'm just protecting myself from the outside world. It's harsh, and I'm squishy. So I got to build a fortress around myself, like our beautiful friends and family who are on shows like Hoarders, Buried Alive, because that's where we are right now, my loves. We are hoarders, and the colonizers have turned us into hoarders. They are our abusers. The colonizers are our parents. The colonizers are our church and organized religion. The colonists are politicians that have been bought and paid for by blood money, by the veterans of this world. The Americas are not alone in their suffering and their bloodshed. Someone who I learned about very early on in my life was a man named Stephen Biko. And I have gone many, many years since I have heard anyone say his name besides myself. And I do have a small circle. I don't have many friends. To be perfectly honest, I have no friends. I don't. I have acquaintances. I have people I know. I have family, blood relations. I have comrades. What is a comrade? Semantics. Come up with your own definition. But a comrade to me is someone who is been forced into a fight that they did not start, but someone whose back we must have because they are pushed up against our back. We're back to back, fighting the same demon, the same monster, and it just keeps coming back. We thought we had killed it. We thought we had eradicated it. We thought we could keep it a secret and protect ourselves and our children. Just bury it underground and don't talk about it. Silence is death. We didn't start the fire. The colonizers did. The church did. And the church will continue to take our mothers from us. Our mothers, like the beautiful women at Stonewall. Sylvia, Mother Marcia. Have you watched Pose? You want to know what the 80s and 90s were really like? You want to know why I fucking hate Madonna? Because we're sellouts in this country. And the last person to profit and fill their bag and run away with the loot is the Trump family and the Trump administration. And we not only let them take it, we handed it to them. We handed our country and our freedoms over willingly, out of guilt and shame, because we don't teach our history. We don't. In Germany, they do. Antifa, anti-fascist. You can never run away from a fascist because they won't let you. Because they can't. Because if you get away, if your one tiny little voice gets heard, someone might believe you. And I don't know if you could hear anything that I've been saying because I don't see the microphone going. So I've just been sitting here talking to myself this whole time. Maybe. I don't know. I'll keep going. I don't care. Um, this woke crowd and hating on Disney. Disney is very problematic, but they're not perfect. But the Disney Corporation has sort of become the new global world church in some regards, trying to spoon feed us information while placating us. And Disney has slowly evolved. And he was trying to save us from ourselves through art. And Walt Disney later in his life had massive guilt. He was very ashamed of himself because he felt like he failed his mother because she died under his care. I believe it was in her sleep, some carbon monoxide fire, something like that. I don't remember because I mean, it's important, but it's not. It's just a detail. The thing that is most important is that Walt Disney tried to make us think and laugh and show us the beauty and absurdity in our lives, just like Shakespeare. And and we you know we do love clowns and we hate them because they're scary. They show us our truth, our absurdity, and it's okay. It's okay for us to be absurd and flawed and scarred and broken because it makes us unique, uniquely perfect. And it takes a lot of different flavor and spice from all over the world to make the best foods. And we've learned this. I love watching street food shows and things like street tacos and street food vendors and in Korea and China and Japan and that's our true culture and heritage. They try and take us away from they try and take our culture away from us. They try and take our identity and put us in matching khaki pants and white button-up collar shirts and our matching hats and our little waving flag, red, white, and blue with stars and stripes, until they tell us to rally behind it no matter what and stand every day and pledge allegiance to your abuser of the United States of the Americas in this republic, for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You made us say that every morning. You forced us to go to your schools and make that pledge every day. You made us promise. You made us give an oath every day. I went to a Christian school also, and not only did we have to stand and pledge allegiance to the American flag, we had to pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Bible every day. We demand our children make pledges, and we sacrifice them on altars. And when our children fight back, they're villainized. We try to silence them. We are so afraid of hearing the truth that we would rather murder our own children than to face the facts. And I want to talk about two leaders that I have seen. Well, there's multiple. You're forced to become a leader. You don't choose to become a leader. I want to talk about Malala, this beautiful goddess who has spent her whole life fighting for equality, and she was shot in the face because she wanted to go to school. But I want to talk to my white pasty family. I'm sorry that you have had to be the ones to pay the check for your ancestors. I can't afford to pay it either. I've spent my whole life in the kitchen washing dishes so I could pay the check. And I'm not going to live long enough to pay the check, honeys. I can't afford it. So I love you. I'm sorry that you have to fight in this world. I wish I could make it different. I'm trying. My little bits. I'm not perfect. I mess up every day. Um, I I was denied supports. I was denied unconditional love. Um, I, and I'm telling you this because I don't want you to pity me. I don't need pity. I just want unconditional love and acceptance, and I tell my stories to help you understand who I am and why I am the way I am. That's why telling our stories are so important. That's why we risk our lives scratching our stories on bits of paper and passing them along to add our voices to the other voices who are oppressed and hopeless. Um, we've had a lot of philosophers and writers. Um, Maya Angelou, Maya, and I shall rise. You have to discover your own power. You have to build yourself. You have to choose who you are every day, and continue with that commitment that you agreed to. However, if the cost is too high, sometimes you gotta fold your hand. You gotta bow out. And other times you gotta double down and go all in. You know, my poker face, my poker face, my poker face. Why do we love that song so much? Why is that something that we say all the time in this country? I think one of our greatest contributions in this world is not. I don't know who invented the game of poker, but there's a game that my brother absolutely loved, and I my former partner Rebecca loved um, online gambling. She would essentially her fortress was an empty cabin in the woods in Alabama, surrounded by trees. Very varied variety of men in the South, and she grew up with a very abusive father, and he he worked for the National Guard, and this man I don't know if he's still alive or dead, um, but he was my partner's father, and they were from Arkansas, and she was born and raised there and grew up, and she hated Arkansas and she wanted to get out her whole life, so she moved to Alabama of all places because that was her options. And we met in the 90s online, AOL chat room. And we started talking because we were talking in the room. And if you never in a AOL chat room, they were anarchy. They were bedlam. They were a constant barrage of thought and words and verbal diarrhea. And I was in heaven. I didn't sleep. I survived on drinking Surge soda and smoking packs of Camel Wide filter cigarettes. I didn't really drink much. My favorite beverage was Henry Weinhardt's root beer. My friends in my 20s know that. And one of my best birthdays was my best friend. And she was from Denmark. She was an exchange student. Um, she had come to America in high school from Denmark. And Denmark is a very tiny island country. It's very cold. The winters are very long. And it's a very hard, rough life. And they are very stoic people. And they have very rigid standards of how people should look and act. I mean, they also support their citizens. They try their best. But housing has been an extreme problem in Denmark for a very long time. They don't have housing for their citizens. Gas is exorbitantly high. I believe it's more than $10. And I didn't look up any information today because I woke up and my brain started its engines and started its motor and started warming up. I am not a sports car. I definitely an American classic. I ride low to the ground. I'm built for comfort and stamina and durability. My people were farm stock. Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Ireland, Scotland, England. Those are my people. My ancestors were forced to flee their homeland. My ancestors have fought. My daughter and I this year, she discovered Ancestry.com, which has been absolutely wonderful and amazing. And my 10-year-old daughter, who we do not know who her father is. I became pregnant. Uh, I was fortunate. I was lucky. I had a miracle. The most wonderful thing to ever happen to me was also the worst thing to ever happen to me. And that's sort of life, is this duality. And it's how we choose to accept it. We create our own truth. We create our own reality, and that's one of the things that science fiction tries to explain to us in our little noodle brains. It's really hard. Uh, my my god niece, um, they introduced me to the Whoverse, to one of the longest running science fiction shows in the world. It started out on radio and then went black and white and in color, and it's getting ready to have another transfer of power, another rebirth. Because we're phoenixes. we don't ever really die. We just come back, and we look a little different. The road was hard and dusty, but we have a lot of empathy, and I want to talk about Doctor Who, um, because my god sister, her daughter, her uh, they her husband was indigenous descent, and so my god niece was raised lovingly in her indigenous family, getting to go to powwows and learning to dance and sing and pray. And the, and she was raised in this home of duality where her father would take her to powwows, to religious ceremonies, to introduce her to his people and her heritage. And her mother was is a very low income, large Irish Italian Catholic family, and she was a very tiny little woman. And she loved the Wizard of Oz because she was a little person, and so it was her people, and she was a little badass. Taught me how to cook and fight and saved my life many times. But Doctor Who and the Doctor, and they've been telling the story of ourselves and documenting it since the beginning. And he's a superhero that doesn't carry a weapon. He carries a tool, a screwdriver, a sonic screwdriver. It's not so good on wood, but anyway, this superhero, he committed genocide to try and save the universe. He willingly sacrificed his home world to try and protect us little earthlings. And he travels through space and time with companions to help them run and fight and protect us from ourselves and outside influences. Sworn to protect from all enemies, both foreign and genetic. And the Doctor just keeps being reborn. Breathing out our life force, giving it back to the universe, and then breathing it back in and being reborn again. And there's a character in the show called Clara Oswald, Souffle Girl, and she confuses the Doctor because the Doctor doesn't understand how Clara keeps showing up. Mm. No matter where the Doctor goes, Clara's there. Clara, Clara, Clara. I'm sorry I did not appreciate you while you were alive and had a beating heart. I'm sorry that I did not recognize you until after your heart stopped beating. but I see you. See the character Clara. She was blown into this world on the wind, in a whim, and two people fell in love, and they were allowed to marry and to choose to have a family, and had their daughter, Clara Oswald, and she carried their hopes and dreams, even though she lost her parents very early on, and was left on her own. She chose kindness and love and caregiving, and to be a surrogate parent to her friends' children, and took on the responsibility of protecting them and keeping them safe. And then she met this strange, funny little man in a little blue box. And she just needed some technical help. She didn't. She was busy. She had plans. She has a book, and it's a book about places around the world that she wants to go to. And I identified with that quite a bit with Clara. It's unfulfilled wishes and hopes and dreams that we cling to, and we hold on so dearly, and we hope that one day we will be able to fulfill our wish and dream and hope, that the secret hope that we hide, like flowers pressed in an old book, that we cling to, and dreams are so very fragile, like dried flowers pressed into a Bible. But the beauty of that pressed flower is that it is now preserved in that horrible, terrible process of being ripped from its roots, and taken away from everything it knows and loves and has known its whole life. It started out as a tiny little seed, almost too tiny to see with the naked eye, smaller than an ant, the size of a mustard seed. And that mustard seed, it was discarded on the side of the road, and it was left to die and fend for itself. And maybe it would grow and flourish and bloom in the spring. It's one of the first things we see, mustard flowers. It's that massive burst of green and the tiniest, most delicate, petite, little yellow flowers, like a little tiny sun, breaking like a light of day. And we are that mustard seed, all of us. And we are gardeners. We have to tend our garden. In Japanese philosophy, Eastern philosophy, something I studied. I'm not an expert on anything, just so you know. I'm a Jill of all trades. I have a little bit of knowledge, just enough to make it dangerous. I know a very lot, but to be truthful, I actually know just a very little amount of a lot of different things. My addictions have been multiple over the years, but my first and foremost addiction was knowledge. I consume knowledge more than any glutton has ever been. I'm a well. I don't know my depth and breadth. I just I I'm a collector. of knowledge and people and their strengths and weaknesses and their beautiful stories. And I can't always show you my wealth. Um, we look to doctors to save us because we think that they are superheroes, and they're not. They're just people who are flawed. But instead of punching down and victim blaming and shaming, not always. Sometimes doctors fail. They're not infallible. They're people trying to do their best and save our lives every day. Nurses, teachers, firefighters. We're all just trying to do our little part to save the world and preserve it for the future, and try to not lose ourselves and our dreams in the meantime. And one of the scariest foes on that show are the weeping angels. Um, and they're terrifying. They are stone figures. These life forms are stone-like figures, and when people are looking, they must be still. And it's because they move so differently in a way that our brains don't comprehend. And the touch, just merely the touch of a weeping angel, can take you away from everything and everyone you've ever known. And they take your power, your energy, your life force. They use you like a battery, um, like um, like in the Matrix. And that's where we are. That's why we resonate with these stories so much, is because they are our harbingers of truth. They are our mirrors, and that's why we love to hate them, and we criticize them, and call names and bully and threaten and harass. And Doctor Who, he said something in one of the shows at one time, and well, Doctor Who says profound things. Doctor Who saved me in a time of my life where I really was questioning my value, and that I was important, and that I made a difference, because I felt very alone. And I would reach out with the only communication tool I had, and that was a cell phone and a computer. And I would just scream into the void, begging for someone to pick up and answer my call, my cry for help. And nobody ever answered that call. So I had to save myself. I had to parent myself. I had to be my own hero. I had to stand up and fight, and not give any more fucks about what people thought of me. And it's taken me 51 years to get here, and it's almost killed me multiple times. And I know that, and it's okay. But the doctor, he talked about rules, and there was a very poignant scene in Doctor Who when he was at the height of his arrogance, because doctors are not infallible and they don't understand everything, and there's information that they don't yet have, and they're making decisions and policies with incomplete data. And this particular scene in Doctor Who, he was fighting to save a newborn life, which is so precious. And this newborn life was taken by his enemies, who used everyone and everything he loved and cared about as a weapon against him, to try and silence him and stop him. And he refused to be silenced, the doctor. But sometimes good men fall because they become blind and arrogant to their own flaws instead of looking in the mirror every day before heading out. And the truth can be devastating and destructive and scary and poison, but it must be. And the reason Doctor has so many rules is because he knows that he is flawed. He says that good men don't need rules. We need to fix things. That's why the screwdriver. And he has two hearts, so that you can see both sides. But there's not two sides to every story. There's three. My side, your side, and the truth. Um, we can't look outside of ourselves to save us. We have to look inside. And during lockdown, that is something that people were forced to do for the very first time in decades, and in this country, um, centuries, because we've been forced to keep busy and not allowed to have rest. Because if we're allowed to have rest and times of peace and quiet, we spend it in self-reflection. And it's scary because self-reflection is holding up a mirror to yourself and looking at yourself and seeing your flaws. And that's me. I'm a mirror. I always have been. I don't have any new knowledge. I don't know anything new. Um, I just I'm a translator. I'm a polyglot. I speak the language of love and of the heart and compassion and kindness. I'm not ladylike. Um, um, and I have fought against tools of oppression my whole life, and I will continue to do so until this wobbly flesh falls off these bones, and I don't have a voice anymore. And because because my ancestors fought and died for me, and I will fight and die for my children, my child, who the only thing I can give her is knowledge and experience. And so I've made choices in my life every day, and I don't regret any of the choices I've made. The only thing in this life that I regret is the things that I was too afraid to do. And I did that this week. Thank you for letting me come out to you and welcoming me into a safe space. I found people like me on YouTube and in the Twitterverse and Facebook. It allowed me to reconnect with people who I knew or were raised around my entire life, and family and friends around the globe. And that's why I've maintained that connection for so long. And my daughter, who is asleep on the couch next to me because we have a rough time, and we struggle to sleep when it's dark outside. We're different. We have different needs. We're not broken or bad. We're just different. And we're nocturnal people, just like nocturnal mammals. Nocturnal animals are not bad or broken. There's a only certain amount of light and dark, and not everybody can sleep at the same time. Somebody has to keep watch to protect us and keep us safe. Warn us when we've fallen asleep and danger comes and approaches. We need someone to ride the horse and to yell through the city streets, telling us when things are coming our way to warn us so we can prepare. And I've been preparing my whole life for this, and I didn't know it. Um, I want to talk about uh, Lizzo. She's a woman who, as soon as I heard her, I fell in love. And Lizzo, Mama is so proud of you. I really want to be you when I grow up, girl. I really do. I mean, you just don't give a fuck, but you do. You love so hard, and she heard the the fellow voices in the disabled community. She put out a new song. It was problematic because she used a word in it that is a word that was used as a descriptor for a medical diagnosis to determine whether or not you were disabled or not. And she heard our voices and acknowledged it and took responsibility and changed and apologized and said she would do better because she understood what it was like to be marginalized for something you don't really have a control over, your genetics. And I want to go back to talking to my fellow disabled people in this world. I am so sorry that we have never known true equality and freedom in this world. And most of us breathing today and our hearts beating today, we won't be alive to see a true free Americas or world. But I know it's coming, and I'm not in fear. There's trauma responses, and people don't talk about all three necessarily. So when we talk about trauma, we call it the fight or flight syndrome. Yes. There's a third that we don't talk about very much, and people don't even realize. And it's iconic. And Walt Disney, it was one of the most powerful movies he ever made. Um, and it was Bambi. Bambi showed the truth about America. It was a very simple story of life. Animals living together, struggling, sharing, making friends. It's a simple children's story, isn't it? People complain about making the same movies over and over and over. And I have a different perspective. My father was a videophile. I mean, he had thousands and thousands and thousands of movies in our home. My father, his hoarding was movies. I mean, he literally had a library. He would lend stacks of movies out to his family and friends. He would keep a list of the movies that they had and returned. And that was his passion in life. It was the only thing left to him. Was That's how he shared his knowledge, was through movies, and tried to help guide me in my morality. My father was very flawed. My father was a very broken, sick man. My father abused me in ways that I've never told anyone but a few select. My whole life, I hated my father just as much as I loved him. And I'm not alone in my feelings, and they're valid. You're allowed to be more than one thing at a time because we are more than one thing at a time. We are dualities, we are conundrums. We are everything and nothing. We are God because God is in us. We're just stardust, and we're just ridiculous, stomping our feet in the dirt and throwing dirt at each other as if one of us is better than the other when we're both just shitty to each other, because we that's what we've been taught. We want to be childlike. We want to sleep like a baby. A baby doesn't sleep well. And when they do, you're scared and panicked. And you go check on them and see if they're still breathing. Babies don't sleep peacefully. Babies wake up a lot and have constant needs and demands. Every few hours, you can't, there is no relief. And babies don't have a language yet. Or do they? They do. We just don't call it a language. It's crying, fussing, cooing, gurgling. It's all communication. And I want to talk to parents who are so sad about their disabled children, who they never in their lives hear with their functioning ears their child say, I love you. And I want to speak to those parents right now. Your child may never be able to say those words out loud to you in your language, but your child will say, I love you every day in their language if you take the time to learn it and to listen and to understand. People we call voiceless are not voiceless. They just don't speak your language. And they don't have a Rosetta Stone to translate it. So you have to do the extra hard work to translate what they're trying to communicate to you. And when you see them struggle, it's because they're so desperately trying to get you to understand. Love is the universal language. It is what will save us. Loving unconditionally, assuming competence always, giving everyone their own choice. Um, I want to talk about bodily autonomy again, and the Roe v. Wade and the SCOTUS and Trump and everything, and how it's all related, and why every issue that we have, every issue, every single one, every problem that we haven't been able to solve in this country since we claimed our independence is from the church, the puritanical ideology, and taking that and using it uh, in a capitalist way, and indoctrinating our children and grooming them to continue their own oppression uh, down their own family, giving who've been given the same tools, Bibles and hammers and square pegs and round holes, instead of maybe doing just slight modification, maybe sand that corner a little bit, make it a little smoother for those round pegs to get in instead of beating them until they're destroyed to fit what you think they should be. It's quiet. It's the quiet before the storm. And I love you. I need my quiet alone time so I can prepare for battle. And I can't write in with you. I'm sorry. My body just won't let me. But I'm here. And you will have me forever. You already know the answers. Sometimes it just takes us a long time before we're able to accept them, the truth. But we'll get there. You'll get there. Um, It's the little things that you do. It's being honest with ourselves and looking at ourselves um, with a critical, non-judgmental eye, and and recognizing our flaws, and sometimes even highlighting them, like a broken pot in Japan. When they break a dish, they will very often repair it, and traditionally it was done using like a gold metal to put it back together. And so what was broken becomes now a unique piece of art, and it's that broken part becomes stronger. That crack in our fabric of time and space to open and close, and so so what was once broken and damaged has been repaired and saved, and it might not be able to be used. It might not be serviceable, but it could definitely be used as an example for the future, a model. Um, uh, Greta Thunberg. Um, she was our new. She's our new Joan of Arc. But let's not martyr her. Okay. She's fighting. She went on strike. She left school as much as she loved education and learning. Um, to go on strike as a child before legal age to vote and have rights, and demand that we listen. Many of us heard, most mocked and tried to discredit her. She's a canary in a coal mine. And David Hogg in Florida, and Gabby, you are our leaders. You are our future, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm so sorry about the pain and tragedy that you had to go through to get here today. But thank you for picking up the fight, because you didn't have to. You didn't. You could have just taken your pain and fear and hidden away and not spoken out. But you know that you're never truly free, and you'll be a target whether or not you recognize that you are a target or not. And just keep screaming into the void, hoping someone else will hear you and maybe answer back. None of us are perfect, um, but the thing that we need to reckon with in the Americas here and the rest of the world is that uh, colonialism is a poison and a rot, and it will continue to spread, and we will become more and more radicalized, like the narrative in the Doctor Who universe. In the Doctor Who universe, religious fanatics become soldiers. And I'm not so sure if that's a good thing, but I don't have all the answers, and I don't know anything new. I just know that we're stronger when we stand together and fight for our future and our children and for their choices and options, because choices empower us. Little things. I do silly little things like when I feed our support animals, our companions who choose to live with us and help take care of us. I let them choose their plate of food. I hold it up to them and the options and let them choose. I give them bodily autonomy. Why? They're another living being with all the same struggles as me. We just don't speak each other's language. We haven't found our Rosetta Stone to translate yet. You make a difference when you make art, when you make food, when you make music, when you tear down an old dilapidated building and put up a new one. Love is an action. Again, it's not passive. You have to choose to love every day. And the choice never gets easy. But thank you for coming to church with me this morning. I want to talk to you. I want to welcome you into my world and to sit with me because I can't run with you anymore. And you don't accommodate the world for me to run with you. You could if you wanted to. If you wanted to spend time with me, you could accommodate my needs. You could turn the lights down a little bit. You could turn the music down a little bit. You could turn the fans on, the air conditioning. That would help. Those are accommodations. Those are little things that we ask that we need. I am extremely heat intolerant. What does that mean? That means in my daily life, I have so many reasons to struggle with very simple things like bathing, showering, grooming, hygiene. It has become ever increasingly difficult for me. I struggled with it very much as a child also, but I was beaten into submission about grooming habits, and I wasn't really given a choice. But I've learned over the years with my failing health and being unable to rely on my body's abilities to do what I want it to do. When you struggle to just simply bathe yourself on a daily basis, when you can't stand, when you can't get clean hot water consistently to bathe yourself, it you internalize feeling worthless and powerless, and we're shamed. We shame Donald Trump because he may or may not use um, adult diapers. I do. I'm wearing one right now. I have been incontinent my entire life. Shamed for it. It runs in my family. My aunt would tell me stories where she was 18 and terrified of sleepovers because she wet the bed. It's not her fault. We're not broken. Our bodies just don't work the way yours do. That's your privilege. You don't have to struggle with that. You don't. I'm going to get very graphic right now. And I'm going to explain to you just one small story of my journey and my medical neglect because I have endless stories. But the most vivid to me, this is what let me know that I was truly alone in the world and I could not rely on anyone. And it was because of medical neglect and trauma. This genocidal medical system has tried to kill me and they nearly succeeded, and they might still succeed. I don't know. Tomorrow I have my an appointment with a new primary care physician, and I'm hoping that she will listen to me and believe me, and recognize my humanity and help me try to maintain my health and quality of life. I know that I can't be fixed. I know that I will just continue to deteriorate, and that's okay. But how can you help me to have my best quality of life? That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to pay all of my bills. I'm not asking you to fix all of my problems. I'm not asking you to save me from myself. But please help me help myself. And please don't shame me for needing help and actually finally asking for it. I want to give you an example, and I'm telling you this again because I don't want your pity. I mean, you I can't tell you what to do. I mean, I can suggest, and you're still going to make your choices. They're yours to make, my loves. Everything is your choice. How you choose to educate yourself. We've taken the voices away from our children in this world. I have been told my whole parenting journey that I'm a terrible parent. I was told even before I was a parent that I would be a terrible parent because people judged me. I scared them. I think differently. I see things differently. I am neurodivergent, and many people, millions of people in this world don't understand what that means, and I don't even really understand what it means truly. We're still learning, but part of the problem and why this is so systemic and why everything is interconnected, and why we just have to keep coming and circling back around, and that's a very racist trope, circling back around. And I keep using it uh, because I need to make a point. Circling back around is taken from the pioneers in this country. It's when you move forward and then you come back around to see where you came from, to see who and what might be behind you. It's just checking the perimeter, circling back around. And in our history, if you've ever watched a Western film, it's an image that has been ingrained into our souls. It's a narrative that we glorified in this country to alleviate ourselves of our own guilt and shame. And it's covered wagons in a circle. And this old racist trope of cowboys versus Indians, and and cops and robbers, and good and bad, right and wrong, religious, heretic, martyr, hero, duality. And it's we do not have a duality. We're the Holy Trinity. We are all and nothing at once. We are the newborn infant, the virgin child. We are the parent and the life giver, the one who must manage and juggle all of life's responsibilities, caretaking of the younger generation and caretaking of the older generation while trying to take care of their own needs. And the third one, the crone, the aged, wised, all knowing, all powerful. It's three. It's all three sides of ourselves. The good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a spaghetti western that my father and grandfather introduced me to. And I don't know how many people have ever watched this movie. It was a very low budget movie, and they were called spaghetti westerns, simply because we filmed them in Italy. There's many reasons for it. I have my own suspicions about things, but one of the movies that really stood out in my mind because it had such amazing pop iconography and such a truth and what we wanted to believe in this country. And it was a film with Clint Eastwood called My Name is Nobody. And, he had to keep moving his whole life because he was never safe and he was always challenged. His beliefs and his character and his ethics, his core. They like to say it's biblical, that it's in the Bible and the commandments or the Torah or Islam or Buddha or Muhammad, and it's much more basic than that. When you take the body of Christ and you break it down and you fabricate it and you put it in a pot and boil it down. When you boil it down, when you boil those bones down and you make a stock, you make a broth, you make a bone broth, the most concentrated, purest form of the flavor and nutrition of that original being. The essence, the flavor, what gives us joy, love, art, music, sex, food, body modification, dancing, singing, praying. We share all of these things. And that's one of the worst parts of the colonizer is that they use our books and our love against us as weapons. And they gatekeep our art. And knowledge. And it has been this duality that I was forced to have my whole life, and I don't buy that philosophy. I think there's a holy trinity, and the people who try to preserve knowledge, culture, heritage, to preserve it, not to honor and worship it like a god, but to recognize the beauty in it and how it's helped to teach us, and we've grown and learned. The Bible was an how-to manual. It still is. Most books and religious texts are. It's to try and help us move through the world and educate us because we're ignorant. It's not a bad thing to be ignorant. It just means that you haven't been taught. You haven't had that learning experience. You haven't made that mistake yet. And that's what's most important about education is teaching someone how to teach themselves, so they can do anything that they want to, if they choose to, if they're allowed to have that choice in every aspect, even if they can't use mouth words, even if their bodies can't hold their own weight, even if their eyes can't see or their ears can't hear. Doesn't make them broken. Doesn't mean we need fixing. We just need understanding and support. We're all just doing our best. Our kids are just doing our best, and we're all struggling. And 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 we have got to stop being our own jailers and abusers and enslavers. And we must stop sacrificing ourselves and our children for colonizers and their greed, because their greed will never be satisfied. No one should be able to hoard wealth while people die. Colonizers are the sleeping dragons on their hoard of gold and wealth. Because a dragon is simply a mythical dinosaur. And that's the true crime against humanity, is hoarding instead of sharing. We look to children to show us the way in the future. Whitney Houston, remember her? Another tragic life. Why? Why'd we lose Whitney and Amy Winehouse and Janis Joplin and Bowie and Prince and Michael Jackson and the list goes on. Our memorial pages of the people who we love and look up to have been victims of violent abuse. This hustle culture is very violent. The public education system is very violent to children. What is violence? Being silenced, not being given food or clean drinking water, or being provided a free, safe, equitable education. Violence is denying someone their basic human needs for support and interaction and intimacy and touch and love, compassion, understanding. Maybe I am just speaking into the void, but I'm just going to keep talking and fighting, and you'll never shut me up. And I'm scared. I'm really scared. I don't fucking care anymore. I know that I have made myself a target, and I didn't really make myself a target. I was turned into a target, and but I'm just gonna keep showing it to you. Hopefully, you see yourself and can recognize it and make a different choice about who you want to be in this world. And I believe in you. I trust you. I trust you to take care of yourself. And I believe you when you tell me what your needs are. And I will do my best to accommodate that and to trust and believe you and help you live your best life. I'm going to show you by example. My words are meaningless, I know. But I'm just a gardener. Japanese philosophy in their honor and the ancestry is their life. They're gardeners. They love to garden. The most beautiful gardens. But they also are samurais and warriors and have great family honor. And one of the philosophies that resonated with me is it's better to be a gardener who knows how to fight than a warrior who will starve because he does not know how to grow his own food or find it or prepare it. We've taken basic knowledge away from our children. We've denied them the knowledge of where their food comes from and what it looks like and what it takes to nourish ourselves. Chef Oliver, he's a white guy from England, and he's a chef, and he has a family, and he tried to go around the world to teach us better techniques to cook and eat and to better feed our families. Little choices every day that make a big difference. And our indigenous peoples, I'm going to bring this up because it's an example. Colonizers fundamentally change us. Trauma and violence, it affects our DNA. And we pass that trauma along generationally, both in our genes and blood and also in our minds and actions and hearts. You cannot escape yourself. Because wherever you go, there is where you are. So you must be there where you are right now, here today. And work on this. And what your next step is going to be when you wake up and clear the sleep from your eyes. Get your morning cup of iced coffee, your refreshing beverage. I get frustrated when people say, "What? Huh?" Listen, MFer. Say what? One more time. Are you hearing? Are you listening? Are you acknowledging? Are you trying to understand? Are you accepting even of painful truths? Um, uh, I don't know. We're here together, in this together, and I don't know what journey you're on, what path you're on, but I wish you the best. I want everything for you. I truly do. Even people who've hurt me and hate me, I want you to have everything. I do. I want it all. And I want it right now. Give it to me. I want it now. I can have it. You can afford it. You can afford it. We can afford it. We can afford to be kind and compassionate and understanding and loving and sympathetic, while also holding each other accountable for our actions, our words, our deeds. Today is your new day. The revolution has already started. Are you going to pick it up your flag and walk together in peace and harmony and love and unity and become our idealized world to be the future that we were dreamed of and promised by our ancestors, of living in harmony together, the lion and the lamb? Because I am. I believed you. You promised me this. You promised me world peace. You promised me unconditional love. You promised me into the kingdom. You promised me space exploration and safe, clean energy and community wherever I am and wherever I go and whatever my needs are. And I want everybody to have that equally all over this universe. And I am a goddess. I am a supreme being above all others. And I'm not your mother. I'm everyone's mother. I am you because you are me. And I make you uncomfortable or angry, then I have succeeded because I'm making you think. And if you're uncomfortable, maybe you will do something to change that. Maybe you will turn out the lights, turn down the music, clean up the stinky smell and the dirt and grime that was left over. We just missed some. It's okay. It's okay. It's not all lost. Some of it, a lot of it, most of it can be saved and preserved. Um, doesn't mean that we're going to continue to use it, but it can be preserved for history, for future generations, to help continue to teach so that we will not slip back into fascism again. And so that we can hold our greedy wealth hoarders accountable and redistribute the wealth so that we can all go to space together. I do believe in a utopia. I do. I believe that we can create the Garden of Eden here on Earth. And I believed you when you told me that the Messiah was my savior. You taught me that the Messiah was sent from our Father to wash away our sins so that we would not have to continue to suffer the same pain of our ancestors, and we could now be absolved, that we could cancel that debt and begin anew. That's something else we don't talk about also in this country. Well, even anywhere in the world is kings and rulers and monarchs, and they would very often cancel debt every year. Look to our Jewish brothers and sisters. And part of their New Year's celebrations is what they do. Old lang syne, little old acquaintance, and we make resolutions about how we're going to change and be different. And most of us fail terribly. And then because we trip once, we give up instead of remembering we got to try and pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and keep going. And not become an abuser to victimize someone new because we want our own home. You can't build your home on top of someone else's who's already there and claim it as yours. It's all of ours, but it doesn't belong to us. We are just the guardians here. I'm a parent to my child, but she does not belong to me. I have temporary care of her until she's old enough and strong enough and feels safe enough to not need me anymore to help protect and guide her and educate her. That's our role as a parent, to prepare them for the future in the world, to fly, to leave the nest, to fight, to carry on. I do have a lot of hope for us. I really do. And I'm free because I choose to be. It's the reality I choose for myself. And I'm trying not to do harm. I'm trying to love and have compassion. And I'm telling my truth in stories. Not again for anything other than and to know that it's not in vain. My family line will carry on in whatever form that will take, and that my life was not in vain. That my struggle and pain was not meaningless. I tell my stories, and I will always continue to tell my stories and my truth forever. And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable, but I'm not going to stop. I will never stop. And that's something that people, family members, have had to learn. And I've had to set boundaries that make them very uncomfortable because I stopped giving them me to continue to abuse. I stopped taking their abuse because I needed their help. I chose homelessness rather to live with my family who were my abusers. If you want to know why people would choose to remain homeless instead of having a safe, warm, secure bed, it's because of judgment and gatekeeping. Love must be unconditional. Trust must be given before it even can be earned. We must trust ourselves and trust our children to make the right choices and decisions. If we never give them that freedom to make choices, to make mistakes, they will live in fear. And that's the three trauma responses: fight, flight, and fawn. What is fawning? It's like a fawn, like a doe, like a deer, like Bambi. Doughy eyed, sweet, innocent, pure, just wanting to be loved unconditionally, and we want to please. And so we turn ourselves into clowns to make our parents laugh because they are sad and angry and crying and yelling. We make art so we can see the beauty in the world because our lives are so dark. One of our most loved and misunderstood artists of our time. And the Hoovers took this man's story and highlighted it in a way that has devastated my soul to this day. And I'm still discovering the truth and seeing the connections and how powerful our storytelling is. And I want to talk about an artist named Vincent van Gogh and why he is so famous and so beloved and revered. Vincent was he was a man who suffered his whole life terribly from mental illness. He was mocked and shamed and ridiculed. He was left to struggle in his pain alone, and it drove him mad. And he was so loving and gentle, and he saw the true beauty in this world and wanted to show it to us. He wanted us to see what we have and what we were doing to it and how beautiful it was and the beautiful perfection and every person he met. Vincent van Gogh is one of the ultimate tragedies of medical neglect and abuse and genocide in this country. I could probably come up with more examples of what we do to people who are different and struggle in this world. Doctor Who, in that show, they did an episode uh, about Vincent, and they went back in time and met him towards the end of his life. And the doctor's companion, who was very young, another ginger, Scottish, stood out, not like everybody else, and kind of was proud of it. But our differences and our struggles are our strengths. But Vincent van Gogh, he painted Starry Nights. And there is a belief in the autistic community that he was most likely autistic, Vincent van Gogh. Undiagnosed, unsupported. He had a different brain type, a different neurology that allowed him to see the world in a different way that was more enhanced than the rest of us, like Blu-ray vision or um, being able to see at night, night vision goggles. He just, yeah, he just saw things differently. He could see the beauty that We're blind to. Our eyes are very weak and limited. We can only see a few colors in the spectrum. We can't see heat signatures, kind of, sometimes. I have another theory, but Doctor Who in the story has been really, really helpful to me to help understand. My prejudices are slowly dying, uh, but there are some things that I must be intolerant of, and I must be intolerant of intolerance, and I must fight and call out misogyny, fascism, oppression everywhere I see it, and I see it everywhere. I'm a problem solver. That's the problem with being a problem solver. And that's why a problem solver is a problem, is because they see the problems and they want to solve them. And that makes the person a problem. Really? Okay. Well, I'm going to say this last thing. Um, Colonization never ends. And one of the storylines in Doctor Who was the story of the Oods and who they were as a species. They were a life form that on their planet was very cold and isolating, and they were born very vulnerably. They had a part of their brain that was outside of their bodies, very vulnerable, like reproductive organs being on the outside of your body, which are very vulnerable and need to be protected. But people saw that as a weakness and weaponized it against them and enslaved them, the Oods. And the Oods willingly, trusting, were enslaved because they knew they needed each other to survive, and they had a collective consciousness because they knew they were vulnerable. They knew that they needed each other to live and survive. And it was used to enslave them throughout the galaxy. And they've been crying for centuries, and their voices were silenced. But once that collar was removed and their voice could be heard again, their pain could be felt. And that's why we love the doctors, because he does see our pain. He hears us no matter what language we speak. The TARDIS is the international translator, and it transports him through space and time in all dimensions. He's got a magic box. He's a madman in a blue box with a blue box, trying to save us from ourselves. And that's who has to save us. If you want to know who's going to save you, you are. You are going to save you. And you just choose every day to fight and to speak out and to stand up and demand your worth and demand that your needs are met, because we have all the same needs. Unconditional love, support, universal freedoms. This little tiny planet, we all want the same things: to take care of ourselves, to take care of our needs and our families and our children, and hope that our future children can do the same, with the struggle being a little more relieved. So let's look to each other and make a bigger table. This is where we bring everything to the table and share and exchange ideas and keep each other in check, checks and balances. That's why you just can't have one person in charge, because we're flawed. We make choices to protect and preserve what we have instead of learning the lessons from our indigenous brothers and sisters, is that the true wealth is not what you have, but in what you can give. I give you myself, my story, my knowledge, my very privileged white private education. I still have student debt. It hasn't all been canceled. I have more than $120,000 in student debt. I've gone without medical care for 2 years, or therapy, or support. I've continued to be forced to be put into situations where people who are there to help me are also the abusers. And it's systemic. Everyone is overwhelmed, from your post person, your postal carrier, to your doctor, to your leader of your country. We are all the same. We all must eat and breathe and shit and die. And hopefully, while we do those things, we can have some clean air and water and be able to have children to ensure our future survival and for us to not go extinct, because that's we're on the cusp. World War III, it has been, it's already been going on my whole life. Until you acknowledge the problem, you can't fix it. Doesn't matter how many steps you take, doesn't matter what program, doesn't matter what philosophy or religion or culture you use, it will fail until the cancer is removed and eradicated. Till old, oppressive, colonizing, cult-ish, death cult beliefs and fanaticism are snuffed out and no longer tolerated. We can honor each other's beliefs and cultures and heritage. We can absolutely honor them. We can recognize each other's uniqueness and differences and beauty, but also demand equality for everyone and everyone have their voice be heard. Period. It's really simple, sweetheart. It really is. But the powers that be are afraid of losing control, and fear is okay. That fear is a true superpower if we use it as a tool of good instead of a tool of oppression. Fear is absolutely to be protected and had. Fear is not a bad emotion. Fear is actually very, very good for us. Fear is what ensures our survival as a people. Fear is what prevents us from walking into a burning building. But our ethics, our values of human life, and who we deem worthy, that's what gets us to walk into that burning building, to look for any other life, regardless of the consequences. And that's why firefighters are heroes, because they completely 100% know their risks and do it anyway. That's a hero. That's a superhero. To be afraid and do it anyway, and without um, fatal weapons and tools. They can be fatal. Anything can be fatal. Anything can be used as a fatal tool if you have been trained to use it in the correct way. Even a spoon can be used as a deadly weapon if you know how to use it correctly. Knowledge is power, but power is meaningless until you wield it. And that's why we say the pen is mightier than the sword, because we can sit down at a table and lay down our weapons and pick up our tools and build our home together and cohabitate in this tiny little planet and accommodate all of our needs. It's going to take some time. It's going to be frustrating. Everybody's needs are different. And so sometimes we might have to have different answers for different people. And recognize and acknowledge our differences. Justice is blind. We are not. Justice must be blind because it cannot have any preconceived notions into making decisions. That's why justice is blind. Justice has to be blind because we are prejudiced. We know this. That's why she has a blindfold and a scale. She doesn't know what you're putting on the scale. You could be feathers and stone. And depending on how many you have of each item, they can be equal and have the same weight and power. But if you ask someone today, what weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of bricks? That will tell you everything you need to know about their education and how we have failed them or how we have succeeded. And strength is in what you can endure. But strength is also in what you share. Joy, pain, struggle. And one of the most profound things I ever heard was something so simple. And I'm going to use it because it's what resonates with me, and I'm hoping it will resonate with you. And again, I don't have any new knowledge. I don't have all the answers. I just have basic core values and knowledge. But this cup, standard mug, and it was given to me. It's one of my talismans. My daughter chose this when she was very, very little because she said it represented me, because I remind her of Ursula. And I love that because I loved Ursula. She just tried to claim her power, and we vilified her. But this cup, it's not very heavy. Um, it's pretty. I like looking at it. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world. It was given to me. It was a gift. I value it highly. It's very precious. It's art. It, it was designed by someone who was creative and thought differently and had a different, unique view of the world. It is not perfect. Um, and it's not too heavy right now. But what if I sit here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 hours like this? How heavy will this simple mug be after a year of sitting here holding it? I can't keep holding it. It's not sustainable for me. It's not that it becomes heavier, it's that my muscles can't maintain that forever. It's not sustainable. The weight of that simple mug after a long period of time becomes so heavy that it could destroy me if I was forced to stand and hold it long enough. And that's what we've done to ourselves. We've been denied our basic needs. And our basic needs has been used as weapons against us to to enforce us into servitude. We're born in this country and assigned a social security number. That social security number is, in all technicality, a number to keep track of us, like the tattoos that were assigned to people unwillingly. That is not a body modification that most people would choose. But we have to choose to not become a statistic or a number. We have to remain a face and a voice. And I talked about my cousin last time, and this time I want to talk about one of my best friends who I also lost. We met during culinary school. She was much younger than me. She was the same age as my younger brother. She was the youngest daughter of a family of a beautiful family that immigrated from the Philippines. And she was born with a congenital heart defect. She was born and raised in Long Beach, California. Her father worked in aerospace engineering and retired from Boeing. Her mother worked quite hard also, and I will be ashamed to say I don't know what Lola does. Retired. She had to retire. But Lolo, he worked for Boeing and retired from Boeing. And so my friend and I, who became like my younger sibling, my best friend, my sister. And I met her during culinary school. She had been out on a medical leave. She had to take a break. They had to put her into a medically induced coma to try and save her life. She was 23, 21, uh, I believe born in 1983. But she was full of life. She was the most interesting, loving person you would ever meet. She was so fierce. She just didn't give a fuck. But she loved so hard. And her passion in life was poetry and music and art and sex and food. She was a chef. She wanted to feed people. Her grandmother, fed her and taught her how to cook, and they made donuts, and they came here for the American dream and have a better life, like my ancestors and family did. So we recognized the similarities in each other very quickly, and I became a surrogate Tagali sibling, and I was embraced by their family, a beautiful Catholic Filipino family. And her parents became my surrogate parents, and her parents became my daughter's surrogate grandparents. And she was always there for me. She was there when my brother died in a car accident, and she was very sad because her and my brother connected very much. They had a sexual chemistry. They were not intimate, but they loved and appreciated each other. And I thought that perhaps there would have been a future for them, but my brother tragically was killed in a car accident when he was 23. And my friend was there. She'd been through her own struggles, and we were roommates sharing a house together. And we went through a lot. She was there for me when I tried to kill myself, and she stayed. And our other friend didn't because they're afraid, and that's okay. But she always stayed. When I was in the hospital, 2018, she told me, if you ever need me, Red, call me. And I did. And she came. She flew out and she came. But they didn't listen to us because we're hysterical women. Our needs aren't met. So this young woman who, when I met her, she had just come out of a medically induced coma to save her life. She was too young and not sick enough to get on a transplant list. There's a lot of information I don't know, but what I do know is that she refused to stop working. She loved Biggie, Notorious B.I.G., and go on back to Cali. So she did. I got very sick and was in the hospital, and she tried to help, and then she went back to work, but her father got sick and was diagnosed with cancer. So she came home to help take care of him. And with her community and family and friends and her cousins, they started another business, cooking, feeding people, and laughter and joy and knowledge. And at 39, last year, September, my sister, my Tagali sister, had a heart attack and died at work in the kitchen in a restaurant, cooking on the line. She was a chef. She was forced to continue to work during the COVID lockdown. She's a service worker, and she had been in all over the world cooking. I know a lot of chefs, service industry people, and and we were sacrificed. She was sacrificed in the name of normalcy and capitalist and colonizers. So my friend, my best friend, who desperately wanted to help me raise my child and be a co-parent, because her congenital heart defect, she knew that if she got pregnant, it would kill her. Her body just simply couldn't handle it. And I'm very sad to say that it's a really good thing that she died before Roe v. Wade was reversed, because that would have killed her. Because she felt her life was worth living, even though she had a defective heart. But her needs weren't accommodated. You're too young. You can still work. She could still work until the day she fucking died while working. This president telling us to go back to work and to school is just as bad as Adolf Hitler. It's sending us to our deaths and ignoring our pain and trauma and basic needs. Now, my best friend, she was there when I tried to kill myself, and she stuck by me years until I went through the medical neglect and trauma in 2018. We had a falling out. She came home to help take care of her father. Lived down the street from me. Didn't speak to me or see me for 4 years. Because I was sick and dying and begging for help. And a white man who had never met me, a boomer, a doctor, when I told him what my problem was while I was in the hospital, gaslit me. Didn't even bother to look at CT scans where the radiologist had noted a 6.5 centimeter growth on my right ovary. I was forced to have an emergency hysterectomy in 2019 to save my life. That's genocide. That's violence. That man, that white boomer man, made a decision for me about my life. And he decided that I was crazy and not worth care. And because of a man who had never met me, he took his authority over everyone. I had no rights. I have no rights. I was institutionalized. My daughter was taken by my sister, and she didn't want to give her back. It took me 45 days to get my daughter back from my sister. And she called the police on me for it. I've had 4 cases of child protective services open and closed in the last 5 years because I'm disabled and sick. And I keep begging for help.
And I'm just that likable.
And she is just that likable. Good morning, my loves. We're awake. So my family and friends told me, if it gets to the point you need help, reach out and ask for help. And I did. And they weaponized it and used it against me and tried to kill me and silence me and take my child, because they did not approve of my choices and how I raise her, and that I allow my child to have her own voice and make decisions about her own body and mind. She has her own autonomy. She doesn't belong to me. I belong to her. I have to help teach and guide and educate her, keep her safe. protect her, give her the tools, train her, because this world is so violent. And she's enemy number one because of how she was born in circumstances. Prejudged to go to hell because of how you're born. How long are we going to continue this oppression? How long are we going to stand for this slavery and oppression by our colonizers in the church? I could be wrong today, but the last time I looked it up, in this world, we all have laws and rules. Everyone. No one is exempt or above the law. Sometimes it just takes longer. And who and how we hold people accountable for their actions and decisions and choices. And we have to hold them accountable, because if we don't make them stand up in defense of their actions when they have inflicted harm on others. And violence is violence, whether it is psychological or physical, because we are all one. And psychological violence causes just as much damage as physical violence, but it actually lasts longer. My best friend died. I was in the middle of being essentially evicted from our home that we had rented and found because I am disabled. A non-disability. We are also Section 8 voucher holders. And it's a very difficult time to find safe, affordable housing in this world. And then when you put on top of that being disabled and needing accommodations, and then having vouchers, and you're discriminated against legally. Real estate property management companies and landlords in most of this country and world are allowed to discriminate against people based on their income and where it comes from and the sources. And one of the reasons I moved is I found a city that in 2015 had changed legislation because of demand. People were tired of not being able to find housing. So they changed the laws that said that in this city, they could no longer discriminate, and not just in the city, but this whole state, that you could no longer discriminate against a person, including all of the things before, and now where their income comes from. Why do we have to do that? Why is that something that that we have to talk, that we have to do? Is not only say that we have a need, that we're worthy of having that need fulfilled, and that we could afford to continue to pay that price with our blood, sweat, tears, and time until the end of our days, with never knowing any true rest or relief. If you want to know why the youth of America are so scared and angry and overwhelmed, it is because they have been born into slavery. I'm sorry, my child. For real. I'm talking to you, kiddo. Here, right here.
Mhm.
I'm sorry that I brought you into this world, into slavery. I'm being serious. You may say something, but I need you to just be safe. Say it loudly.
I mean, they can't really silence us because, I mean, some of us are kind of obsessed with horse.
Thank you. She says that you can never really silence us because they have knowledge. They share knowledge on TikTok and other platforms. Like she said, TikTok and Discord and Snapchat are just modern day carrier pigeons and letters. Video games and cell phones are just tools and technologies for kids to indulge in their fantasies and to communicate with each other and share their stories and experiences. Our kids are going to keep talking to each other forever. They're going to use their phones and their computers and smoke signals and walkie talkies and shortwave and longwave radios. Our children will continue to explore this universe. We just simply have to get out of their way and make sure that they're packed and ready for the journey, prepared as well as they can be. You can't be prepared for everything, but you can be an optimist. You can be pessimistically optimistic. The is the glass half full or is it half empty, or is it simply a vessel that you can choose to put whatever you need in? See the trilogy. We keep saying there's a duality, black and white, left and right and wrong. It's not. We are much more than that. We are intersectional. We are multi-level. We are international. We're global. And my last thought, I want to show you how my little weird noodles function. And I typed up this story, and it's been running in my head for my whole entire life because I think that words have power and words have meaning. And I think that what we call things affects how we feel about them. And that's why words have meanings and matter. And one of the things that really frustrates me is what we choose to call our home. And you're going to laugh. It's silly. It's ridiculous. But I think that that's one of our core issues. Something as simple as what we choose to call our mother. So here's my sci-fi short story. Can I tell you? I really want to tell you. Okay, so I got my rocket ship, got my spaceship, right? I get to travel across the universe. So I get in my ship and I go out and travel for a long time and come across a space station. Like a DS9. And I dock and I get off. And I'm a new life form. They've never seen someone like me. And the first alien sees me and we're talking and explaining, trying to share knowledge. And so you come from this small planet, and what do you call it? Dirt. Your planet is called Dirt, but I thought you said that your planets were named after gods. ancient figures. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes, our solar system. Yes, every planet has a beautiful name that we've chosen for a historical, mythological figure. And you chose to call yours. Which one of the gods did you call your planet? Oh, no, no, we didn't name our planet after gods. Okay. Well, yeah, because we called it dirt because that's what we are. We're dirt. You come from dirt, you'll go back to dirt. You'll live and die and return to the earth. Dirt. Dirt. We're the people of dirt. So you live on a very dry planet. There's no water on your planet? Oh, no, we got lots of water.
Like 80% water.
Your planet is blue and has a lot of water. Oh, yeah, lots of water, lots of water. So much water, so much water, we can't even explore it yet. Yeah. Oh, yeah, our oceans are a mystery. Nice to meet you. Welcome. And so, what's the official, like your name, and the official name of your planet? What you call your planet? Oh, the official name, the fancy name, hard dirt. Welcome to my world. We're ridiculous. We're silly. Don't take it too much to heart. I love you. I know you're scared. You got this. I'm not going to be doing this again. I'm done. I've accomplished what I wanted to do. You can ask me questions and I'll respond and do videos, but this knowledge, this story, I'm done. This this is it, and just going to keep moving forward and loving each other and supporting each other and fighting the good fight that's being fought throughout all of history, definitely the last 2,000 years, and hopefully not 2,000 more, maybe a few. But I love you. You're perfect. You're beautiful. You're strong. And together you can fix this and make it better and equitable for everyone so everyone's needs are met. So I love you and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.